All right, folks, it's Rick Ballou. We're live from Ballou Sports Bar. It's Notre Dame at Florida State. It's all about the Irish. I love the Irish. My daughter's name's Ainsley, Tegan. My late grandmother, her last name, Brady. My mother, homemade name, or maiden name, Cutter. Got a lot of Irish blood right here in Ballou. Love everything about the Irish. Sometimes I guess the Red Sox are Irish. I got a Sam Jones autographed hat here. The guy won 9 NBA championships. Yeah, that's Irish. I love everything that's Irish except for Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish. All right, our blog is brought to you. Check that vlog. Brought to you each and every week by my good buddy, another Irishman himself, Russ Vorhis. Is Vorhis Irish? It is this weekend when they take down Notre Dame in God's country. RussVorhis.com. That is the website. He is with State Farm. Give Russ a call. He's a good man. 276-9535. Any of your insurance needs, call Russ Vorhis. All right. It's Florida State. It's Notre Dame. It's been an unbelievable week as far as distractions. The media witch hunt has been unbearing for some of you out there. Relax. Settle down. I've told you since week one. Smile and ignore. Bottom line, charges on Jameis Winston, there were none. Cleared of all those charges. This is rehashed material by the media trying to concoct a story, whether it's the autographs, whether it's the code of conduct. We heard about BB guns and Burger King, Diet Cokes taken out of a... come on. Enough is enough. Jameis has made some mistakes, but he plays Saturday against Notre Dame. Here comes the Fighting Irish, man. They just allowed 43 points to North Carolina. They were down 14-0 early in that football game. Brian Van Gorder is the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame. Look for him this week to do some things that he has not shown this year. Exotic blitzes, sending guys from the safety position. Maybe some zone-type blitzes where a defensive end will drop in coverage, sending perhaps an outside linebacker. The game plan Notre Dame defensively is pretty simple. Put pressure on Jameis Winston if there's no running attack. That's the big if for Florida State. Looks like Mario Pender is not going to play. He's got an ankle. Carl Williams has got an ankle. Didn't play a week ago. Reportedly, he's ready to go. Question is, what type of pain will he be willing to endure? How much of a factor will he be? If not, that running attack becomes true freshman Dalvin Cook, and all of a sudden, what Jameis Winston is going to have to do to replace running the football is some short passes to try to keep Notre Dame honest. For Notre Dame, coming into Tallahassee at 8 o'clock on Saturday night, this is their first true road game of the year. Think about that. They're 6-0. They've yet to be on the road. Also, this is their first ball game on grass. Now, typically, grass surface really favors Notre Dame. Reminds me of the 93 matchup that I was in, the original game of the century, where they let that grass grow and they watered it down in those cool temperatures in mid-November of 1993. We'll see what that surface is like on Saturday night when Florida State is able to take the field. Back to offense for FSU. What they have to do right out of this gate is run the football. If they're able to do that, that'll set things up for Jameis Winston. Now, obviously, defensively, Notre Dame is going to do everything that they can to slow down Rashad Green. This is a big ball game for second and third and fourth wide receivers. I love Florida State's matchup against Notre Dame in nickel coverage and in dime coverage. So whether it's Rudolph, whether it's the veteran Pops and Christian Green, whether it's an Ermon Lane sighting, we've seen more of Bobo Williams. Maybe it's Kermit Whitfield. A nice game last week by tight end Nick O'Leary, a career high in receptions. That's the other avenue that Jameis is going to have to go to in this ball game. Also a big test for that offensive line that's been maligned this year. They have been criticized, okay? This is a very physical Notre Dame defense. They have the advantage in the trenches. Florida State needs to spread it out, take advantage of their speed. I think it's a very important game for that offensive line. Let's flip it. Let's go to the defense for Florida State. They allowed 412 yards to Syracuse. Not good. They allowed way too much on the ground. Not good as well. Look early in this ball game for Everett Golson on design runs. Set things up for him to try to pick apart the Florida State defense. Now, their secondary has been good, but they've gotten beaten with some precision-type passes. We even saw that last week against Syracuse. This will be very interesting. In the last 3 ball games, Golson has turned the ball over 10 times. If he turns it over 2 or 3 times against Florida State, they win. However, this is a streaky quarterback. When he's on, he's dangerous. And if he's on Saturday night, that really presents a problem, in my opinion, for FSU. Charles Kelly, big weekend for him. The return of Matthew Thomas. We told you that 7 weeks ago. Eligwe expected to play. Hopefully a little bit more depth at defensive tackle this week with Jacksonville's Derek Mitchell. The return with him. Florida State has not been able to get to the quarterback. That's a problem. 8 sacks in 6 ball games. Not nearly enough. That needs to improve for FSU if they're going to be able to win. I hope that Charles Kelly has a couple of things built up defensively with a scheme, maybe a surprise or two in this matchup against Notre Dame. One other note, Brian Kelly, their head coach, he is a genius play caller. He's Steve Spurrier-esque. Okay, he's Mark Richt-esque. He's one of the few coaches today in college football who still calls his plays. And he's been foaming at the mouth the last couple of weeks for this opportunity. Look for them to do about anything against this Florida State defense. And unfortunately for FSU, it's a defense not nearly as good as it was a year ago, and it's lacking in depth. They really need to turn it up a notch coming up on Saturday night. All right, 1993, game of the century, Florida State at Notre Dame. I was interning then at ABC. My first couple of years, 91 and 92 and 93, actually began in radio in 1994, right after the Noles won the national championship against Florida on AM 1270 in Tallahassee, the station that the Truth Teller built. But that year, I was interning for Jack Arute. I was interning for Lynn Swan. I was a sideline assistant. I basically covered there and carried their clipboard. That weekend, NBC had the game. I took off. I was tending bar as well at legendary Docks in Tallahassee. I took off, and along with my brother, we flew to Chicago on a Thursday as we move over here to Ballou Sports Bar. We flew to Chicago. We picked up tickets, $600 for 2 ducats. Cost $54. That was the price. Cost us $600. Sat in the Notre Dame section. It was one of the great weekends in the history of college football. One of those ball games where everyone will tell you now that they were there. And in fact, many were not. People brag about that game, how great it was for college football. I thought it sucked. Florida State lost that afternoon. We slept in a parking lot on Friday night. We brushed our teeth with Miller Lite on a Saturday morning. We went there expecting a victory. Didn't get it. You look at that ticket stub as well, you'll see the 2003 matchup where Florida State was able to shut them out. That's what I'm looking for, more of the latter compared to the former. It's a great rivalry. Whether it was the 94 rematch in Orlando, whether it was the January 1st, 1996 game in the Orange Bowl, whether it was the matchup at Notre Dame, and then when Ty Willingham came into Tallahassee and won a ball game in 2002. Of course, we just played a bowl game 3 years ago out in Orlando, which was pretty special as well. This is what it's all about. It's Florida State. It's Notre Dame. It's a rivalry. It's in God's country. I like the Noles to win their 23rd in a row. Live from Ballou Sports Bar. Reaction, get me, Ballou 1010XL on Twitter. Listen to the show 3 to 7, including today on Friday. Tim Brando will join me at 5:30. We'll talk about this game and everything else. And remember, Russ Vorhis brings us the vlog. Russ Vorhis, VORHIS.com. His number 276-9535 with State Farm. For all your insurance needs, give Russ a call. Believe in the Noles. They get it done tomorrow. I like Florida State over Notre Dame.